let's talk about the Mantis Blackbeard. So the Mantis Blackbeard X is a product that's been out for, I'd say maybe a year, 2 years at least. The Blackbeard X might be a little bit newer than the original Blackbeard. I know the original Blackbeard has a shorter magazine, but either way, Blackbeard X, dry fire tool that goes inside of your AR platform. It is an absolutely vital tool that not a lot of people are using. A lot of people have seen it, but they're kind of skeptical just because they've never used one. If you go to any typical gun shop, like they don't have these products in there. You pretty much have to order it and trust a YouTube video review in order to make the purchase, and it's like 300 bucks. So I understand why a lot of people don't have it, because I don't feel like a lot of the YouTube videos out there are really talking about the benefits of why you need a Blackbeard inside of your system, especially given the state of the union, the state of the country right now. I remember during 2020 in the last presidential cycle, COVID was just starting, or was just about to pick up. And the subsequent months later, we entered an ammo shortage, and then it became very hard for everybody to practice. And the people that couldn't get ammo anymore just had it stored up. They had to slowly start digging in their pile. God forbid that happens again. The Blackbeard X is going to be the saving grace and what's going to keep a lot of us sharp in our skills, as opposed to it being a decline because you don't actually get to get out there on the range. So what this is a laser system that replaces your actual bolt carrier group in a magazine that acts as the battery. This is what the back of it looks like, giving you a little bit of a better understanding. So again, the magazine actually has a battery inside of it that allows it to operate and shoot the laser. You get 3 different laser options: red, green, or infrared. I have the green one. The red one is a little bit less expensive, but the green one does provide a good contrast, and I think it's a little bit better when it comes to processing information. There's also a MantisX app that I will show you on the backside, but yes, this is what the box looks like. This is what the product will actually look like inside of the box. So this is the carrying case that they give you. Decent carrying case. I mean, I don't think it's anything too special. It looks like it does have good zippers on it. The most important thing is it's just going to keep the actual system safe. If you do put it inside your range bag, or you throw it inside of the truck, wherever, if you plan on transporting it, I recommend transporting it here so you don't actually damage the laser inside of the bore system. When you open it up, it's going to give you a nice little mesh pocket here, soft. It allows you to store some other stuff. My actual bolt carrier group is in there because the Mantis is already inside of my AR. Give you a section for the mag, give you a section for the bolt carrier group, and that is pretty much all that's going to be in here. Use it, don't use it as something else. You get it when you buy it. This is similar to what the actual MantisX system is going to look like. So again, here's the battery. If I'm going right here, here's the battery. This battery, Bluetooth light, that's right there. I just connected it to the phone in the last video. This is a redo. If we're checking the battery life, I didn't even know I could do that. I'm on 2 batteries right now, which they say this magazine is able to take 50,000 shots. I don't count every single shot. If you actually use the MantisX apps, it does count every single shot that you take, so you can know how many shots you're putting down. But for there to only be 2 lights left, I don't think I shoot that much. So what I do recommend is every time you are done using it, take it out of the actual AR, drop mag on it. Because if not, I do feel like as long as it is connected and seated inside of the actual system, the battery is going to keep depleting for as long as it is connected. So in order to get those full 50,000 shots, I do feel like you need to take it out every single time, which is kind of annoying, but either way, it is still more shots and it's more practice that I would get than if I were to just try to rack the charging handle every single time and pull a single shot. Or it's more shots if I were just sitting there trying to finger bang the trigger the entire time, acting like I'm shooting. That doesn't provide a true tactile feel of what it's like to actually shoot that AR when a round goes off. So if we crack this the system open real quick, pull that pin. This is what the actual bolt carrier group is going to look like as it replaces it. You see mine has just been in there. Those were the 2 little prongs on the actual magazine connect. And then you see there on that side, you see a little switch there. So that switch, when it is flicked to the top, that is so you can actually use it in dry fire mode. When it is flicked down, the laser will just continuously stay on. And since the laser is just continuously staying on, that's when you would use it for like sighting in or something of that nature. If you need it to sight in, you flick the switch down so the light just constantly stays on, but I always keep it up because I don't use that to sight in. When it comes to sighting in, I prefer a true feel. Let me see what the ballistics actually do downrange. This just doesn't, it's not affected by any type of elements enough to give me a true 0 for my personal taste. But goes right in just like that. Always got to make sure it's kind of tucked in and really seated in there so it actually closes. When you go to actually put in your takedown pin, let's say give a tight little squeeze to the frame, make sure those holes actually align so it can go in easy just like that. So boom, now you got, fully safe AR, clear red charging handle inside of there, so it's clear that there's no ammo inside of there at all. This does not move back, so there's no way you could actually try to charge it in any type of way. And boom, here you go. So if we're just looking at my platform system as we move into the actual operations of it, Romeo 5, Romeo 05, no, just Romeo 5, plus the Unity riser. This is really where this Mantis system starts to come into play, because those of us that are running a riser, our height over bore is a lot more extreme than somebody that's using a typical, you know, riser or any kind of optic that's just mounted directly to the rail system. Their height over bore really isn't that much more, but for both of us, no matter what type of system you're running to hold the optic, this laser system still comes into play. But I say for us that run risers more, if you're running the GBRS, the Hydra, or any other variation of a riser, you really do want this system, because what we have to think about is our height of a bore. Every time we present and we're actually looking at that dot down range, that dot is always going to be a lot higher than where your actual impact is going to be. And it's funny, when I let a few guys at the range try this the other day, one of them asked me that question. He was like, hey, like, the laser is hitting a lot lower than your actual red dot. And it's like, yeah, that's always going to be like, there will never be an instance where I can zero the point of impact here to match where my actual laser is, because this is just so high up. A bullet is not going straight up after it leaves the barrel. Even, I mean, maybe at a certain distance, if I'm doing a 36-yard zero, point of aim becomes point of impact, you know, maybe around 100 yards or somewhere in there. I don't even know that off the top of my head, but no matter what, where you're aiming is always going to be a little bit different than the impact. So the only way we get valuable practice in that and understanding it is when we actually are on the range shooting. Because if we're not on the range shooting, we don't know where the impact is actually going to happen. We don't know how our front hand is manipulating the firearm in just ever so slightly way that it causes us to drag down, it causes us to do this, or we're just not centered in the right spot. Like you present, you know, you finger bang that trigger with no laser system in there, and you think, oh yeah, those shots hit, but you don't know that for sure. You're guessing. Your ego is telling you that those shots hit, but we need proof in the pudding. We need viable information that we can see and process back, and this Mantis system is the only thing that actually allows us to do that. So once this mag goes in, you see it has a little ray gun sound like that, which also makes it very cool. Now what happens inside of this trigger, so you see we are flicked on safe. Again, nothing weird, like the Mantis system is in there, so there's no live ammo in here. We flick off safe. Here is the actual trigger. There's my wall. When I break, you hear that, the laser went off, and it resets the trigger. Which is the other benefit of it too. You can really get behind this trigger. So a lot of the things I would see, especially because I'm a little bit newer to AR. I haven't been shooting AR as long as I've been shooting pistol. So while the skills are very similar, there are slight differences, especially with the Geisley trigger. This is a 2-stage, the SDE, I believe. It's a lot lighter than your typical mil-spec trigger. Like we're talking 3 pounds of pressure in total versus 6 pounds of pressure in a typical mil-spec. So when actually trying to get rapid fire, you'll see with a lot of shooters, you'll find hiccups or just inconsistency, or trigger hesitation is a better term. You'll find a lot of trigger hesitation in people, and that's just because they don't understand the full timing of that trigger and the reset, because the reset inside of an AR, especially if you're doing aftermarket, it's not the same like a pistol. Some can be very similar, but at least in my situation it's not, because once I find the wall, if you flick back on fire, once I find the wall, I break the shot, it sends me back to first stage. It doesn't send me back to the second stage wall. Inside of a pistol, as soon as you find the wall, break it, you can go straight back to the wall and then immediately pull that shot again. That doesn't work inside of an AR system, or at least in this Geisley trigger, that's not the case scenario here. So getting used to where that reset is gonna happen and how far we actually need to pull the trigger back is where a lot of that trigger hesitation comes from. And to learn that on the live range, every time you pull the trigger, that is what, 60 cents that you're spending right then and there. So you have to be very deliberate. Unless you just got 2,000-3,000 rounds to burn through like your Lucas from T-Rex Arms, you know, we don't all got that kind of money, at least at this moment. We all gonna get there, but we don't got that right now. So spending $300 on this Mantis system, which, surprise, that's how much it cost. Spending $300 on this Mantis system is about the same as buying 1,000 rounds of 5.56, but the expected round count out of the battery pack should be 50,000. And even if it's not 50,000, I'm guaranteed for 1,000. No matter what, this definitely shoots more than 1,000 times from full charge to little charge. And even at the 2 batteries that I have left, I'm still gonna get way more than 1,000. Like, it's way more than 500 in each charge here. So the 300 bucks that you would spend on this is extremely worth it. You get so much more practice. You get to learn a lot more about how you process information, the information that you need to process. And to just go down that rabbit hole for a second to really show you what I mean. And this is going back to talking about the risers versus everything else. Sticky targets from GBRS, again, super cool. When I am aiming in, like especially if we're talking about 3 to 5 yards, 5 to 7 yards, something in there, my dot has to sit at the top of this box in order for me to have a solid impact in the center of the chest. When I'm aiming at the head, if I aim at this top box right here, I am pushing the button right on it. And that's why you see even in here, some of these shots are a little low because my aim point was right here. When I start to aim here, now we're putting them right between the eyes. Again, aiming here, this is where I start to sling a shot low, and that just comes from my front hand input on the rifle. Here, a lot of these shots here was from me presenting, putting the dot here, and then the billet impacts right there. So again, that distance is about the same as that distance right there. If you're just dry firing with no type of laser system inside of there, you'll go to present, you'll see that dot here, you'll whack on that trigger a little bit, and you'll be like, oh, those are good hits. And while in reality, yes, these are good hits, like those are pretty fatal hits, like those are catastrophic hits if they happen on you, we want the most accountability. Your true goal was to get a shot inside of here. You did it up there and your ego told you, oh yeah, I was inside of the box, but were you really inside of the box? This laser system will show you every single time. Then, to show you the app now. The app is super cool because again, like I was mentioning earlier, the app will actually count the amount of times that you use it. So every time you pull the trigger, it will give you some sort of feedback and let you know something. There are a bunch of different training modules that you can go through on there, different drills that you could practice. It works as a shot timer too. So every time you pull the trigger, again, you're getting information about what you're actually processing and your performance times, kneeling drills, decision-making drills, all different types of things. And the good thing about the MantisX app is it does not make you pay for all of these extra ones. Mantis also has a Laser Academy, and in Laser Academy, it is either $50 a year or you can buy certain individual ones, but that's a different topic. If we look at some of the history in here, in the last month I haven't used the app in the last month to be completely honest, but if we go in the last 6 months, it calculates at least 444 shots. Again, I don't turn the app on every time I use it. Some of the things that I don't like about the app, because I won't be completely unbiased and just tell you it's the best thing out there. The app is good when you want to use those drills to train through because it gives you a shot timer, and if you don't have an SG timer, you know, your typical shot timer is not going to pick up on the actual dry fire, but fun fact, the SG Shooter's Global Timer 2 does pick up on the MantisX, so you do still get to use a real shot timer, but in that case, you're spending $600 for training equipment just to dry fire, and if you're not committed, that's a lot of money. Buy the $300 Mantis Blackbeard system, the MantisX app comes free and gives you a lot of that same information. It will give you different aspects of what you're doing wrong inside of your trigger pull. Now, my issue with some of these, especially being an instructor, my issue with some of this feedback is the Mantis, unless you're shooting directly at the target, which again, I say Mantis does kind of drop the ball here and they don't give you, at least I have not seen a pamphlet or manual to show me like, okay, how do you use this app? How does the actual product work with the service that the app provides? Because it'll give you all this information here, but it doesn't know what I'm aiming at. So how can you tell me I am jerking the trigger if we didn't set a target to actually see where the impact is going to happen? And this is actually where I like the Laser Academy app because it reads the actual laser that is hitting the target. So if you did pull low, 1, it tracks that laser. And then 2, you can see it because it records it on the screen. When it comes to the MantisX app, they should integrate that feature inside of this app because without it, this feedback is kind of arbitrary in my opinion. But the app still does have a lot of utility inside of there. Real quick, I just went to the open training settings. Inside of the open training, one of the cool things that it actually has is it will have muzzle tracking. So anytime I do actually fire, it will track how much the muzzle is moving in that moment. So this is one of the most useful things in there, especially if you're working transitions. You get to see if you're over traveling, under traveling, or what you're doing extra inside of there. Again, my one issue with that is it doesn't know what I'm aiming at. So how can you actually give me valuable feedback and tell me I'm over traveling? Or even if just this is my screen, it's kind of hard for me to be shooting and processing that at the same time. But it does allow you a record section where you can actually see everything that was being done. And boom, you can then base your feedback off of that. So those are pretty cool features that it has inside of there. Again, you see it tracks, those were 12 shots. So it does calculate everything that you're doing and tries to give you as much feedback as possible. Trigger press, some of the other things that the app is actually going to introduce to you is more information that it's just going to give you to process. So again, when we start to go here, every area that you see, it's starting to give you more information. Like if we to click right here, it's going to give you the information that it thinks you need in that moment. But again, it could be true, but as an instructor that gives this feedback in real time, I don't understand how you can tell me that's what's happening. I guess the way that they're trying to justify it is the gyro system that's in there, it's calculating and seeing how often you move and where you're moving to and letting you know that this is what you're doing. Because it does have a capture system that happens a split second before the trigger actually goes bang or, you know, the system fires. It does track every bit of the movement that you're doing in there. So I guess as you're pulling to the left, it's saying, hey, that's the micro movement that you're doing. Or if it's not doing that, I don't understand how that information actually translates to the target I'm hitting. Because if I'm looking at the target visually and I see I'm hitting the X, you know, you're telling me and giving me these arbitrary things. Well, again, if I'm not aiming directly here, how can you tell me I'm pulling down if you haven't calibrated what I'm aiming at? So all in all, this is what that will look like when you're on open training. It'll give you everything, times and splits in between each shot, which again, you don't need to buy a shot timer to actually get this going and get better performance metrics. Because on a side tangent, that's my other issue with dry fire is when you hit the live range, we use shot timers to subdivide space and time in terms of what we're doing. When you dry fire, you don't get to really do that until the SG Timer Pro, where it does pick up dry fire sounds. But again, that's another $300 piece of equipment. If you had to pick between choosing that or choosing the Mantis Blackbeard system, it'd be really tough for me to tell you which one to buy. I would personally just tell you to buy both of them, but it'd be really tough for me to pick between the two. I'd say buy the Mantis Blackbeard system because it at least gives you dry fire for your AR, which I'm sure you never get to practice. Your AR probably sits in the bag and you never really touch it until you go to the range. And by the time you go to the range, you get maybe 50 pulls on it if you're actually using some ammo for the day. And then you don't touch it again until the next range day. That's a diminishing skill. That's not something that is going to stay proficient over time. So buying the Mantis Blackbeard system allows you to get more reps out of your AR. And like I said, especially in the times that we're in, you want to keep all your skills as sharp and up to par as you can. You don't want to leave anything to chance because you want to be ready when that time comes. The only way I feel like you can get ready is by putting more time behind the trigger, more time behind the gun, getting really comfortable with your system and understanding how your platform works. Because we're civilians, we're not in law enforcement, we're not in military, ammo is not just provided. This is the way to subsidize that price. Speaking of that, make sure we take the mag out so we're not wasting that battery life inside of there. So this is kind of my quick review of the Mantis Blackbeard system. I will do more videos where I'm talking and going into the drills and showing you more of what's happening. I just really want to get this one out because I'm kind of late on the video anyway. If you have any questions about the Mantis Blackbeard system, drop them down in the comment section below because I need to know what you guys need to know so I understand how to explain it to you. Again, like I said, I'll make more videos showing how you do mag reloads with it, showing how the inner workings of the app works. But right now, I just want to give you an overview of everything and keep this video a little bit shorter. So, questions, drop them down in the comment section. I really do appreciate you guys for watching the video. Like, share, subscribe, all the things that YouTubers say in their end tag. Stay on mission is my end tag, so I will see y'all in the next one.